खुशनुदी मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलावत
सल्ले अला मुहम्मद आले मुहम्मद
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
अल्लाह सल्ले अला मुहम्मद आले मुहम्मद
سورة الفاتحة.
مالك يوم الدين مستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم قل هو الله أحد الصمد يولد ولم يكن له الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا ومولانا حبيب إله العالمين أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين. ولعنة الله ولا القوم الظالمين الآن إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفناء. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله الآخر لأحد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على
حسين وعلى علي بن الحسين
وعلى
أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين.
يا رحمة الله الواسعة، يا باب نجاة الأمة، يا عبرة لكل مؤمن ومؤمنة، غريب مظلوم كربلاء. ويا ليتني يا ليتني كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، واستعينوا بالصبر والصلاة وإنها لكبيرة إلا على الخاشعين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم. Inshallah. We begin by sending our condolences, of course, to the Imam of Our Time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, inshallah. Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
On the occasion of the martyrdom of his holy grandfather, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, we of course send condolences to him first, and then to all the believers, to the ulama, to the shuhada, and all of the community at large, inshallah. Whenever we go through any difficulty or tragedy or hardship, we often turn back to Allah and say, Ya Allah, please accept our ibadah. Ya Allah, forgive my sins. Ya Allah, accept me. Help me in this hardship that I'm going through. It's quite normal. And indeed, the ghaibat of the Imam is itself a hardship for us. It's not easy to be in this state continuously. And so we go back to Allah to complain and wish for the end, inshallah, of this zuhur that we are waiting for. So much so that narration Sister Fiza mentioned earlier of the Imam himself saying, pray for me, do dua for me, and there is some success for you, some salvation for you if you pray for me, inshallah, for my zuhur to end. You have a role to play in all of this. My dear brothers and sisters, any action which we do, any amal, whether it's ibadat, whether it's a decision, a choice, whatever we do, it always has within it two dimensions. On the one hand, there is the exterior, on the other hand, there is the interior. Okay? The exterior is obvious. When you do an action, it's the way that you look, it's your physical form, it's what people look at and they say, he did this thing, she did this thing. What they don't see is your intention, your niyyah, what happened inside. They have no access to that. That's the interior. The Arafah give this the language of the exoteric and the esoteric. Exoteric, salat, khums, zakat, hajj, all of these amal which we do. Inside, how does it affect your heart? How is your soul being changed by the action which you're doing? How are you becoming closer to Allah from this amal? That's hidden within. And we don't always see that from the outside. Even for you and me, when someone looks at you, they see your face, your actions, your body, they think that's who you are. But they don't see what's inside. They don't see your emotions, they don't see how you feel inside, they don't see what you're going through, your struggles. They have no access to this. They just see what's on the outside. Any action we do has its own zahir, its own batin. It's outside, it's inside. It's external, it's internal. Are you with me, inshallah?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're with me, with salawat.
Allah salli ala Muhammad.
All amal are like this. Something everyone gets to see in the answer, something is hidden inside. Sometimes certain amal have secrets hidden within them which you just don't see. You don't see them unapparent. In explanation, discussion, you have to experience it to know it. Okay, all amal are like this. Now let's go back to that saying of our Imam saying, if you prayed for me, there'll be some salvation for you. Our Imam is saying this. If you're listening and paying attention, all of you should have a question right now, which is this. Salat is one of those things where you have an external salat, we go and we pray 5 times a day, but there's something hidden inside salat as well. The batin of salat, the inner reality of salat. Okay. When my Imam says to me, you will have salvation if you pray for me, does he mean the zahir salat or the batin salat? The external salat we pray 5 times a day, or the internal salat which is the hidden reality of that prayer? So the next question will be, well, obviously he means the inner reality. He wants us to pray for him with a certain type of prayer, a special type of prayer. So the next question is, what does the salat look like which my Imam wants me to do for him in ghaibat? Have you me inshallah so far? Now the one who asked this question, what is the kind of salat which he wants from me now, should look no further than the example of Imam Sayyid al-Sajjad wa Zayn al-Abidin, Ali ibn Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam.
Allah salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Imam Sajjad, for whose shahada we have come together for. Imam Sajjad is the example of the zahir and the batin. That which everyone sees and experiences, but he shows us, if you look deeper in every action you do, including salat. And when you look deeper, you see that salat is no longer about 5 times praying. No, and salat, when you look at it in its real reality sense, is about activism, activity, revolution, movement. All of those things come from salat. So Imam Zamana says, remember in your salat, pray for me. It doesn't just mean go to 5 times when you pray, remember in your dua. He means have that kulli salat where your whole day is thinking of me. But in order to get there, we have to unpack what's the difference between the outer reality of salat and the inner salat. And to get there, we have to go through a few steps. You have to see, well, what is this salat? What's it clear? What's hidden? And how does this link to Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam as well? How is he part of my salat? And only then do I get to ask the question of our central discussion, what does the salat of Imam Zamana look like, inshallah? That's our discussion. If you are with me, inshallah, if I have your attention for the next few moments, and if we welcome our gathering with the Imam of Our Time, Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So it's clear, I want to pray the kind of prayer that he's asked me to do in ghaibat. And somehow in Imam Zayn al-Abidin, I see an example of this. And I can't go through these ayam and these layal and not learn from Imam Sajjad and how to go back to my Imam with the right kind of salat. Salat has a zahir and a batin. What's the zahir? The verse I mentioned of Surah Baqarah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Go back to Allah, seek help to Allah with sabr and salat. إِنَّهُ لَكَبِيرَةٌ. This is going to be hard. إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. Except for those people who have khushu. They are already humble before Allah Azza wa Jal. Let's go to the beginning. Go back to Allah. Seek help from Him with sabr and salat. If you're in trouble, if you go through hardship, don't go anywhere else. Go towards Him. No matter what you're going through, He say, أَدْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. If you call me, I will answer. It's a guarantee for us. فاذكروني أذكركم. If you remember me, I will remember you. I already remember you. Why are you going elsewhere when I was already here for you? وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Seek help in me. Come to me with sabr and salat. I'm there for you. So often we take this and we go elsewhere. You know, when I go through hardship and difficulty and life gets really hard, whether it's an exam or a test or a family problem or a job problem or something where I've never gone through this issue before. I've gone through many imtihan, but not this one. I go to people. Why? Why don't I go to him? نحن أقرب إليها من حبل الوريد. No, this jugular vein right here, I'm closer to you than even this jugular vein. That while you sleep, it gives you life. While you sleep, I give you hayat. Why don't you come to me? Ya Bani Adam, Allah ta'ala shaitan. Don't go to shaitan. إنه لكم عدو مبين. He's an open enemy. Why go to him? أن اعبدوني. Worship me. هذا الصراط المستقيم. I was always there for you. I never went away from you. So where are you going away from me? When you go through hardship, why don't you go straight to the prayer mat the moment you get difficulty? Why am I going elsewhere? Why am I delaying? Why am I waiting to wake up? What's taking me so long? وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Turn back to Allah with sabr and salat. Read us salawat, please. So often I know I have that feeling of grief, of heartbreaking, and of, you know, of real sadness, and I don't go back to him. I go to others. Why don't I go back to him? Ya ayyuhal insan, ma gharraka bi rabbil kareem. What took you away from him? Was he not kareem enough for you? Was he not beautiful enough for you? Was he not kind enough for you? Why did you go elsewhere when he was there for you? So go back to him with sabr and salat. The narration says every time Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib had a problem or an issue, he would stand for salat and mention this verse. This verse. And he'd go to Allah mentioning this point. Go to him with what? With sabr and salat. Now sabr of course means patience, but some mufassirin suggest that sabr here also means fasting. Because in the Quran, sometimes sabr means sawm. But go to him with salat. Pray to Allah when you've gone through hardship. Pray to him. Now salat has a certain zahir, a certain clear salat. For example, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam,
Allah salli ala Muhammad,
has said that, you know, when you pray, know that your Lord accepts prayer, He wants prayer, He is kind. And if your prayer is done sincerely, even if it's little like 2 rak'ah, he says, just 2 rak'ah. If it's sincere and it's for him, he will accept it. And even if it's just 2 rak'ah which is accepted, you will not taste the fire of hell if this prayer is done correctly. The right kind of prayer. One of my teachers, Sheikh Shamali, used to teach us that Allah Azza wa Jal judges all of your prayers by your best prayer. When I heard this, it was mind-blowing. The best prayer you've ever done, let's say under some dome, whether you are really in it, your heart had full presence, whatever it is. The best prayer that you do, it raises all the others to that level. So when you go to Allah, every single prayer you did is counted alongside the level of your best. Your whole average becomes higher because of that one time you got it right. All this life is me getting it right just once. Just once, let me do that prayer properly. Let me go to him the way he wants me to go to him. But not everyone can do this. Why? This is hard for people. Most people don't pray like this. Except those who already have humbled themselves before Allah Azza wa Jalla. Read us salawat, please.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
When your body is like fully relaxed and you're calm and you know you have itminan in your body, that's called khudu. When you're relaxed. When your heart is humble, that's called khushu'. Some people are min al-khashi'in. All the time they are relaxed. In terms of their heart is tranquil. Ya ayyatuhan nafs al-mutma'inna irji'i ila rabbika radiyah. Come back to God with peace. Some are like this consistently. All day they're like this. Now for them, when life gets hard, it's not kabiratun to go back to God. It's adi. It's easy to go to Allah Azza wa Jal. Who else am I going to go to when life is difficult? Who else will I pray to? I'm not going to my parents or my teacher, my friends. Let me first go to Allah. Ana min al-khashi'in. Only they go back to God in this way. Allama Tabatabai on this verse says that when you understand what this verse truly means, you'll raise your hand to Allah and you'll know that I have no helper except Him. There's no one for me except Him. I have wasila from Ahlul Bayt, I have others around me, but the origin of all ni'mah is Allah. Ya Dhal Manni wal Mannu alayh. He's the one who gives all goodness. When you know this, Allama says, you will find yourselves finding that which others find difficult, you will find easy. Suddenly things will come easy to you. Others will spend a whole life struggling on certain things and you just won't. You won't be at those who are innaha lakabiratun. You won't find it hard anymore. You'll find yourself naturally going to the prayer mat. This is the salat we want, dhahiran. When you go to the prayer mat, every time you've got an issue. Okay. But salat has both a dhahir and a batin. Yeah, I kind of get it. Real salat, you're in trouble, you go to Allah, you pray to Him, He accepts, inshallah. What's that batin salat inside which is completely different to the physical form? Let's go to the Quran. There are some verses in the Quran which describe salat completely differently to how I actually pray. They're not about standing in ruku and sujood, they're not about 5 times a day, they're described in a very different way. For example, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha. Indeed, salat will protect you from fahsha, from sin, from immorality. Okay, what salat is this that when you pray you're no longer doing immoral deeds? People pray every day and do immoral deeds right after they pray and right before. Inna salata tanha anil fahsha wal munkar. If that's true, then technically every time I pray, I should find myself not wanting to do a sin each time I pray. But do I actually feel like that? Where is this fahsha which is running towards me and I'm not running away from it anymore? True salat is like this. I don't want to do sin anymore. So this is not about the prayer. It's about the time between the prayer where you're not doing fahsha. This view of salat expands from dhuhr, maghrib, isha, asr, al-fajr. It's not about them anymore. It's about the time in between. And for some reason my prayer is stopping my whole mentality in this world. Inna salatu mi'raj al-mu'min. The Prophet says salat, true salat is mi'raj. It's a journey. You go towards Allah Azza wa Jalla. And when you come back, you say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's what the salam is. You've just come back from a mi'raj, and now you're back. On the day of Uhud, some warriors came back with wounds, some warriors came back with none. We don't call them warriors, they fled from the battlefield. Some came back with wounds. One of them was Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam.
Allah salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Imam Ali has an arrow lodged inside his foot. Every time they try and move it, his whole leg shakes. They can't move it. They go to Rasulullah and say, Ya Rasulullah, Ali is in pain. We can't help him. He says, don't worry, let him pray. And then take the arrow out. When Ali stands for salat and prays, during his salat, they come and they take that arrow from his foot. Nothing moves, nothing twitches. After the salat, they have to tell him, Ali, did you know something? While you're praying, we took this arrow from. He says, I didn't even realize I was talking to Allah Azza wa Jalla. I didn't even know. He is on his mi'raj. True mi'raj. He doesn't feel pain of his body anymore. That arrow which was making his whole leg twitch is now coming out calmly. This is mi'raj. Someone goes to Imam Sajjad alayhi salam and says, Ya Imam, look at this salat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Look at the way he prays. Do you pray like this? He goes, no. Even I don't pray like this.
Allah.
Man yutiqu hada. Who prays like this except Ali ibn Abi Talib? Just him. Even I'm not like this. This is which salat? Inna salat tanha anil fahsha. Another example. So often we read in the Quran, aqim as-salat, aqim as-salat, establish prayer, establish prayer, establish prayer. Once we read, aqim as-salat, why? Li-dhikri. Establish prayer so that you remember me. And so that you are continuously in my remembrance. That's the true meaning of salat. Not just aqim as-salat, full stop. Aqim as-salat, establish prayer so that you are continuously in my dhikr. All day you think of me. Faqirru ila Allah. Flee towards Allah Azza wa Jalla. This salat is so different to the way I'm struggling to wake up for Fajr and I can't get up. I've got 5 alarms and still I don't get up. Someone wake me up, please, please. No, I'm continuously in a state of dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Salat wajib is just a zinat to that. I'm doing nawafil, I'm doing salat al-layl, I'm continuously in that state. And even when I'm not praying, my mentality is dhikr. That's so different to how we are. Now that salat is batin, it's hidden. Not everyone is like that. Even Sajjad says, Ali is like that. No one else is like that in its true sense. Read us salawat, please. This is the salat of the free person. one who is ahra. The Holy Imam says in Nahj al-Balagha, don't worship Allah out of raghba or out of rahba. Don't worship Him because you are scared. That's the worship of the slave. Don't worship Him because you want heaven. That's the worship of the business person. Worship Him because of shukr, because He deserves to be worshipped. This is Ibadul Ahrar. Ibadah, the one who is completely free. Later in Nahj al-Balagha, the Imam says, you know something to his companions, even if you didn't know about sin, you didn't know about hell, you knew about none of this stuff, you should still worship Allah as if it's wajib, just to be grateful to Him for what He's given you. This salat is so different. It's not pray because you're going to go to hell if you don't pray. It's not pray because you want to go to heaven. No, I'm praying because Allah deserves to be prayed to. So someone comes to Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. They say to him, Imam, we have a question for you. You're praying so much. All day you're praying, continuously. Question, is it not true that Jannah has been made for you? Jahannam is made for your enemies. So why are you praying so much? He says it's true. Jannah was made for us, Ahlul Bayt. Jahannam was made for those who oppose us, Ali Muhammad. But my grandfather would pray continuously. Rasulullah would pray continuously. All the time. Why? Because even though he knew Allah had forgiven even the deeds of his ancestors for his sake, he was grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal. This prayer is about being continuously grateful, continuously in a state of dhikr, continuously in a state of ahrar, of freedom. There's that prayer and there's my prayer. So how far am I from that standard? Okay. Salat, let's expand it. Can we go one step further, inshallah?
Yeah.
Let's go one step further. Imam Sajjad hears someone praying once. He hears him actually praying. And they're saying, Ya Allah, make me free from being dependent on all makhluqiyat, on all creation. Imam says, stop. Don't pray like this. You need one another in your prayer. Just say, Ya Allah, make me free from being dependent on the bad people of your creation. Don't say make me free from people. Remember others in your dua. Now this changes everything. Now, I can't go back home and pray alone and think I've done my job. Imam Sajjad himself has said, remember others in your salah. I can't go to God alone anymore. I can't neglect my brothers and sisters and say, you do your salah, I do mine. It's not fair, it's not right. Imam said, remember one another in your salah. So now, whatever the true meaning of salah is, it has to be together. It has to be together. I can't go alone. I can't hold on to this thing alone. It's too much for me. I need you and you need me. This takes us one step further. If that's true, that I can't do this alone, how do I expand my view of salah to include everyone with me? That we're all doing this thing together. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
He says that 100 poor families in Medina were dependent on my father, Imam Zainul Abidin. They needed him. Among them were the yatim, the miskin, the mustadaf, those who were poor, those who were orphans, and those who were needy. Of them, he says, my father, of 100 households, himself would feed food from his hands. He would go to their homes. He would give to them from what he would have eaten himself, not leftovers and not something cheaper. His own food, he'd give it to them. And he'd feed them with his own hand and he'd go to them. They wouldn't come to him. Question, is this salat? Of course this is salat. This is when everyone is included in my ibadat. Going to the poor is part of the salat of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. His salat is much wider than my salat. His prayer is helping others as well as ibadat. Honestly, ask yourself a question. Why? Why do I even know the whispered dua of Imam Sajjad? Didn't he whisper them? He's alone, he's whispering. Why do I have them written down? Because he wanted others to join in. He told them, write this dua, and he told them to write it down and make it Sahih Sajjadiyya. Why, for example, do we have today's Salat al-Huquq? Why do we have the Book of Rights? Imam Sajjad's been through Karbala, he's been through Ashura, he's been through Karbala, he's been through Kufa and Sham. Why has he come back and done anything except mourning and grieving? I just want to mourn in Karbala in the Muharram, I don't want to do anything else. Why is he coming back teaching me what are your rights? Your mother's rights, your father's rights, your neighbor's rights, your limb's rights, your leader's rights and your people's rights. Why has it changed so much? Thank you so much, baby. Salatu Muhammad wa Muhammad. Why is he helping others like this? He could so easily have gone back, retreated after Karbala and been alone for this whole time. Because for him, Sayyidul Sajidin means I'm making you do sajda with me. I'm not doing this alone anymore. The doors of Ahlul Bayt are open for all of us. They are inclusive. Anyone who comes to this door finds an answer. The narration says that if anyone went to the door of Ali ibn Abi Talib, they'd never return empty-handed. Imam Sajjad is like this. If you come to me, I'm bringing you with me towards Allah. And not just in the Zahiran prayer, even in just helping the poor, I'm bringing you with me. This is a completely different version of Salat. Now let's go to the hadith. The riwayat says, when you die, your Salat enters your grave with you. So now you're in your grave.
Allah.
Along with your Salat are 4 other figures alongside you. 5 altogether. Your Salat is in the form of a beautiful form which enters your qabr with you. You're not alone in your grave. It stands by your head. On one side, the riwayat says is your hajj, which you went on. On the other is your sawm, your fasting, which you did. And by your legs is your amal ma'ruf and your nahi anil munkar. These 5 amal enter the qabr with you. You did them, they stay with you. Head of them is your salat. The riwayat says these are beautiful, these are amazing angelic beings, but when the qabr opens, a 6th being walks in. This being is more beautiful, has more nur, and shines brighter than any of the other beings. And you in your qabr, the riwayat says, you will say, who are you that you've entered my grave now? And that nur will say, introduce yourself. This one says, I am your salat, I am your hajj, I am your zakat, I am your nahi. Who are you? That every single one of them seems less beautiful because of you. And that nur will say, I am your love for Ali ibn Abi Talib.
Allah.
Haydari, Haydari, Nawaz bulantar salawat.
Salli ala Muhammad.
You loved Ali, I come to your grave now. When you need me, I'm there for you. Love of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Interestingly, the riwayat says that each other form becomes lesser compared to the nur of the love of Ali. Each one becomes less. That one becomes a'la. It becomes greater. Why? Because all of your amal are accepted greater with your love for Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Without Ali, everyone prays. With Ali, I'm doing the very thing he lived and died by, salat in his final moment. Without Ali, everyone goes to Hajj. With Ali, you're visiting the place where he was born. Without Ali, everyone does zakat. With Ali, it's the one who gave zakat in the state of ruku with a finger with an arrow. With Ali ibn Abi Talib, everything changes for your life. Without Ali, everyone does amr ma'ruf. With Ali, you're following the one who was kull iman on the battlefield. That's Ali. Without Ali, everyone does nahi al-munkar, don't do evil, don't do evil. With Ali, you're the one who the Prophet says, Ya Ali, anta qasir al-nari wal-jannah. You're the one who splits between heaven and hell. A mu'min can never hate you, a munafiq can never love you. Ali, heaven is for your lovers, hell is for your haters. So now everything changes, not just with salat, with love of Ali. So now let's add this into the mix. True salat, real salat, with real love for Ali changes everything. That's how I go to my imam, with this mentality. Some people, unfortunately, they listen to these fadail and mashallah, they like it, and they say, you know something, this means that I can do anything I want. But if I say Ali, I'm saved, Jannah's for me. In Urdu, we have this phrase that some people say, which is, Qabr ke bahar jo bhi kare, qabr ke andar. Yeah, this is nonsense. It's not true. For those who don't speak Urdu, they're saying whatever you do outside your qabr, anything you do, it's fine. As long as in your qabr you say Ali Ali, yani qabla qabr kil amal halal. لأن في قبر Ali Ali. It makes no sense. Why would you believe this? So you're telling me I can be a liar, a cheat, an abusive person, an abusive spouse, as one who takes away the mal of the yatim, I don't give khums, I don't do any good deed, but because I say Ali, everything's forgiven? So you're telling me, I can argue against majlis, like some people are doing these days, and because in the end I say, yeah, but I follow Ali, everything's forgiven, I can take haqqul nas and what it's forgiven because I said Ali, Ali. No, Ya Ali is a dua to Allah. Ya Ali is saying, Ya Ali, Ya Allah, for your sake, forgive all of my sins. This is a dua of the highest quality. I can't do any amal and say, because I said Ali, it's forgiven. It makes no sense. Imam Sadiq says, the one who wakes up and does not think of the believers in distress is not even from us. So I can spend a whole life with no regard for the mu'minin, the mustadafin, and I say Ali and I'm fine. Imam says, he's not even one of us. Don't count it with us. It doesn't even count. Imam Sadiq says, the one who takes his salat lightly, don't call him our Shia. He's not from us anymore. But what? I don't pray, but I say Ali and it's fine. Imam Sadiq says, don't call him even our Shia. Someone goes to the Imam, someone actually goes to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and says, I'm your Shia. He says, really, you're my Shia? You don't look like my Shia. You don't look like him. Your eyes don't have the marks of worship at night. Your body is not weak from ibadat. Your face is not expressive like my Shia. Why do you call yourself my Shia? What are you to do with us? He goes, no, I love you. Then he says, fine, say you're my muhib, you're my lover, but don't say you're my Shia. That's preserved for a certain special group of people who are genuinely following our path. They are our Shia. But no, I can do any action. If I say Ali, Ali, really? So I can do any action and suddenly I look like him. And Sadiq says you should recognize their Shia by their amal, not by their name. You should go into a town and everyone should know who is my Shia just by seeing what they do. If they give charity, know they're our Shia. If they say the truth, know they're my Shia. But no, I don't believe in any of that stuff because I say Ali, Ali. No, Ali, Ali is a dua. Jibreel says Ya Ali. Rasulullah at Badr says Ya Ali. The Malaika, when they want to go to Allah, there's a maqam in Jannah, maqam Alawiyah, where they go to pray to Allah bihaqq Ali. All of them do it, but they practice it as well. Nara Haydari is a dua of the highest level. Nara Haydari, the true Nara Haydari, means every time I say Ya Ali, my whole being changes. My blood quickens. My body rushes to ibadat because I'm a lover of Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is a very different mentality to saying Ali, Ali, I'm in Jannah. Everything changes. Now let's go back to Imam Zamana. What does he say? Pray for me and you'll be saved. You'll be saved. You have your salvation. Now everything's changed now. Now true prayer from Zamana means I can't just go to him with ilm. I have to go to him with amal, with action. Do you see now? If Imam Sajjad gives to 100 poor people, feeding them with his own hands, sometimes covering his face, and Imam Hassan alayhi salam, for his salat, is giving all of his wealth at least twice in his life, when he doesn't look at how much he's giving or who he's giving to. I can't go to Imam Zamana without being a charitable person. Why? Because I don't belong to that tradition. I'm not one of them. I don't even look like their followers. Just calling him in salat is not enough. I have to go to him differently. Now, one part of it is of course dua and ilm. Dua ahad in the morning, dua on a Friday, dua iftar shahr Ramadan, dua ma'arifah, ziyarat al yasin, ziyarat arba'in, ziyarat ashura. These are all from Zamana. They are very special. But alongside them, there is some amal, because he's the one for whom we say, وَقَدْ مَلَقْتَ الْأَرْضُ عَدْلًا. He'll establish complete justice on this earth. I have to go to him already establishing justice in my community. So inshallah, one of the areas which I'm interested in, and I think we'll discuss this more in the programs tomorrow and the day after in Cheetham Hill, is on how we make sure in our community we're establishing the kind of justice he wants for the whole world. I've started in my community. So whether it's homeless people who have nowhere to live or nowhere to stay, whether it's refugees who are musafir and they're coming to a gharib, they're coming to a new town and they don't have any family whether it's helping them, or whether it's the mu'min around the world in terms of Shia genocide, whether it's Afghanistan or Pakistan or Iraq or Yemen or any of these countries. I can't go to Imam Zamana without thinking of them in the morning. I just can't. I'm not allowed to. I can't be a Shia. So we'll unpack these concepts more in the next few nights, inshallah, in a different venue. But know enough as I conclude, which is this. Praying for Imam Zamana, part of it is tongue, part of it is my hand. The part which is my tongue is knowing which dua to call upon him when. The part which is my hand is knowing what action would he be proud of me for and doing them, inshallah. And we learn all of this from Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. So by ending our discussion, we pray, inshallah, that Allah Azza wa Jal allows us to remember this point and we become a genuine and true Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Imam Sajjad, and Imam Zaman, inshallah. Read the salawat, please.
Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad ajtf faraj.
Let us now turn our minds, inshallah, for the last few moments to the musibah of these nights and of this night in particular. In the days of Muharram, we mourn for many members of Ahlul Bayt and many women and children and imams as well. This is the night of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. Imam Sajjad, Sayyidul Sajidin. The one who was ill, who was unwell, who was bimar on the day of Ashura, has now gone to Kufa, to Sham, back to Karbala, and now he's returned back home and somehow he has to live with this grief. Day in, day out, he has to live with it continuously. One of his companions, Minhal, comes and says to him, Ya Imam, I don't understand something. How long will you cry for? Every time I come to you, you're weeping, you're crying. How long? Imam replies to him, did Yaqub not cry for Yusuf?
Hi.
Did he not lose his tears and become blood crying for him? He lost one Yusuf. I saw 18 Yusufs from my family come back from the Makkah. How can I not cry for them? They say, while he's saying this, Imam Sajjad, he keeps moving his body from side to side. Sometimes he moves his legs, sometimes he moves his knees. He keeps moving. And he says, why are you moving so much? He says, while I'm speaking, I can feel the shackles of Sham on my body, whether on my feet or my knees. I can feel them. He says, but Ya Imam, isn't Shahad a blessing for you? He says, maybe Shahad is a blessing for us. But what about your women and children being taken from the darbar to the bazaar to the prison? Is that Sahadat for us? Seeing them without rida, without the hijab, is that Sahadat for us? As I was saying, on these final nights, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, his whole body has changed from Karbala. He went there as a young man. Now he lives in Medina. His whole body has changed. His head has changed. How? The riwayat say there was a bruise on the head of Imam continuously, all the time. Why? He would say to them, when I was going to Kufa, I could see that from the roofs they would throw stones upon us as we passed. But I couldn't even why. My hands were shackled. So every time someone threw a stone on my head, I couldn't raise my hand to defend myself. But when I went to Sham, they would throw hot boiling water on us. How can the one who can't defend from stone cover his head from the burning water of Sham? His body had changed, his head had changed. Somebody might even say that even while he's walking, his back has changed. Why? He doesn't walk the same way anymore. He used to walk upright or standing with a stick while walking. Now he bends over everywhere he goes. His back is hunched and he kneels as he walks. Why? He says, when we were entering Sham, the La'in put a rope around my neck and around my hands and my feet. Every time I stood, it would hurt me. When I bent down, it would hurt me. They attached that same rope to Sakina, to Ruqayya, to all of them. And when the rope was around her neck, when I stood, she would say, Ya Imam, I can't breathe. When I sat, they would come and beat her. So I leant over and I crawled into the doors of Sham. And while I crawled, my back was broken. So now his back has changed too. The Rawat say not only his back, not only his head. Let's say one day Imam Sajjad is living, he's walking in his life. He moves his shirt and his companions see a wound around his neck. They say, Imam, we've never seen any blackness on a neck before. He says, do you know what this is? This is the kind of rope, the kind of chains where the wounds and the sharp objects, they're pointing inside, not outside. So when I stood, I could feel the pain in my neck. But when I turned my neck, every time I turned, it would scrape the skin on my neck. So now I can't look up without feeling that blade on me. Not any blade. In the heat of the sun, it's metal, so it becomes hot. So there's burning fire. It feels like that on his neck. Ya Imam Sajjad, his head has changed. He moves differently, he mourns differently, he cries differently. Some might even say his hands don't touch things the same way. And as he walks slower now. He doesn't walk fast anymore. After Karbala to Kufa and Kufa to Sham and Sham back now, his legs have been through so much walking, he can't walk in the same way. And then there's one dear narration which breaks my heart when I hear. They say one day Imam Sajjad was sitting down and he extended his feet and kicked his feet forward. For the first time ever, Imam Sajjad extended his legs. Ruqayya sees and says, Ya Imam, I've never seen you extend your legs. Why? He says, can you not see? While I'm walking barefoot, there are some thorns in my feet. I can't keep them in anymore. The riwayat says, after Ruqayya's hands have been unshackled, she runs to Imam, she kneels, and with her small fingers, she pulls out every single thorn in the foot of Imam Sajjad. That's her hands. Goes to Zindan. Now Imam is burying with his hands the same qabr which Sakina will be laying in. So now he walks differently, he looks different, he bends over differently. And as he walks around, his whole life has changed. Sometimes he sees them killing animals. He says, did you give water to this animal before you martyred? He said, of course we did, we are Muslim. Why? He says, you gave water to an animal, but my father Hussein was killed while he was thirsty. He sees children playing. He says, I see those children playing. But what about Ruqayya? She couldn't play anymore in the prison. Everywhere he looks, he sees these different examples. He's living with his grief. One of the riwayat says, while he's mourning and sad, one companion says, Ya Imam, I'm going to get married. I have a wedding. Please come to my wedding. Imam says, we don't go to these places anymore after Ashura. He said, no, please come to my wedding. Come, my family are here. They're getting married. He says, fine, I'll come on one condition. What's the condition? At this wedding, before you do the aqd, read the musibah for Ali Akbar. Read his musibah, mourn for him, and then I'll come. They say, when they said yes, Imam Sajjad goes to the wedding and he stands and he's sitting down and everyone is weeping. Listen to Ali Akbar. As they weep, he stands up. They say, why are you standing? He says, before I was your guest. Now you mention my brother Ali Akbar, you are my guest. I will stand for you now. But he can't bear it. He goes outside, he sits down, he can't listen to the musibah. Why? He sits alone by the chairs and by the shoes outside the wedding. When they come and say, Imam, you said come to the wedding. You said do a musibah. We did musibah. Why are you sitting alone outside? He says, I'm not alone. Do you know something? Every time the musibah for Ali Akbar is recited, my grandmother Zahra comes to the majlis. You can't see, but she's sitting here with me saying, Wa Ali Akbar, Wa Ali Akbar. Towards the end of the life of Imam Sajjad, as you know, he is poisoned on this night. The poison enters his body, and as you know, on his last few moments, Imam is always thinking of Ashura, thinking of his family. He's living and dying many years after, but his mind is with Abu Abdullah. They say while he's on his deathbed, someone comes to him with water saying, Imam, you've just had poison, drink some water, maybe it will give ease to your body. He replies to them, how can I drink water when my father Hussein died when he was thirsty? One narration says, when they bring water, he says, how dare you bring me water? Ali Asghar died while he was thirsty. How can I die when I have water? Another narration says while he's lying on his deathbed, the last few months of his life, many people come together and they gather together. There's more than one. Many people, they want to see the last moments of his life. So he's standing there, he lies there, he says, Ya Muhammad al-Baqir, you're the Imam after me. Everyone is wajib to you to follow him. More and more enter. He says, why are there so many people here? They say, well, because you're about to pass away, they want to be here for your death. Imam starts crying. He says, why are there so many people for me? When Hussein was killed, he was alone on the plains of Karbala, but there was one person with him, no lover, no friend, no supporter. Shimr was walking towards him. You are here for me. Who was there for Abu Abdullah? Imam alayhi salam is shaheed. He passes away, he dies. One final riwayat for all of you. After Imam has died, on this night, he's going to be buried in Jannatul Baqi. They bury him. Everyone leaves and goes back. As they leave, Imam Baqir alayhi salam narrated, I saw the camel of Imam Sajjad was very restless. It wouldn't move. It was moving back and forth. Someone came and untied that camel and it ran to the qabr of my father at Jannatul Baqi. And as it ran, everyone was surprised. Why is it running? Why is it running towards him? The camel starts banging its head against the qabr of the newly buried Imam. As it's burying, Imam says, do you know why it's burying? Why? This is the same camel on which my father sat on in the Darbar of Sham. As he's going from place to place, this camel saw every single musibah which he went through. Azadar, that camel has gone to Sham. That camel is now in Baqi. All of us want to go to Karbala. Who will go to Jannatul Baqi today and sit down by that broken qabr of Imam Sajjad and warn and say, Wa Sajjada, Wa Sajjada. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ridhan wa qada'ihi wa taslim bi amrih. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. For the sake of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam and his martyrdom and his ibadah we are doing, forgive all our sins, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, allow us to be Shia Imam where we follow every amal which He has taught us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, all the Azadar today in the world, whether they are Zawar going to Karbala or with Arad to Karbala, Ya Allah, help everyone fulfill their wish of going for Ziyarat, Ya Allah. Let them return safely to us, inshallah, Ya Allah. And finally, Ya Allah, for the sake of this majlis, the organizers, the attendants, and all your marhameen, inshallah, allow us to be reunited very soon with the zuhur of the Imam al-Asr wa Zaman, inshallah. اللهم إني أسألك بحق فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها وأسر مستعوده فيها أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم